How's it going, guys, and welcome to today's video. On today's video, I'm going to be talking about something that doesn't get talked about very much on this channel, and that is chickens. More specifically, we're going to be talking about raising, harvesting, and processing your own meat birds. That's what's going on today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. I've been raising meat birds out here on the ranch for about the last 4 years, and in that time there's a lot of things that I've learned. I've never made any videos about butchering meat birds because I just wasn't really sure that there was that much interest in it. But this year when I went to order my meat chicks and I realized that there was over a 2-month wait just to get them, it became quite apparent that there's a lot of people out there this year that bought meat birds, and there might be some interest in the topic now. Despite the fact that most hatcheries are on a 2-month wait list right now, we actually got really lucky in that Mrs. FTR's friend found some chicks in a feed store up in Auburn, which is a town that's not too far away from us. We gave them a call and they had 20 of them. We told them that we would take every last one, so we went up and grabbed them. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? You want to get in there. This year I decided to raise Cornish cross chicks. In the past I have tried Red Rangers, I've tried Cornish cross before as well, and after trying both, honestly I think I'm a Cornish cross guy. The reason that I like Cornish cross better than those other red meat birds is because these guys do grow incredibly fast. They'll be ready to harvest and process in between, some of them 6 weeks, the others maybe closer to 8 weeks. And the nice thing about these two is that they're a lot easier to process because they don't feather out quite as heavily as the red breeds do. Processing these guys is a breeze. It's also nice to get a better return on your feed investment. This breed is very good at converting feed into meat. The other chicks take a little bit longer, and even in the extra 2, 3, 4 weeks that it takes to finish a Red Ranger or something like that, when you do butcher them, their carcasses don't look the same. These guys put on a lot more meat. Right now I've got them in this makeshift brooder, and I've actually got this thing set up pretty good, so let me show you guys what I've got going on. Probably what I'm most proud of on this brooder setup is my little thermostat here. The heat lamp plugs into this, and I can program what temperature I want things to stay at, and it'll shut the heat lamp on and off to maintain that temperature. I don't know why I don't see more people doing this. It seems like a really easy way to save electricity, and it's a really easy way to monitor your temperature. As a lot of us know that raise chicks, the ideal way to do it is to decrease the temperature in the brooder here by 5 degrees a week until they're feathered out and ready to go outside. That's really hard to do if you don't have a thermostat. So right now you can see that it's at 93.5, so it's a little bit low, and it has the heat lamp on. The way that this works is, you can see we've got this little wire coming out of the thermostat. That comes down here to a temperature probe, which I drilled a hole in the side of my water trough. And don't worry, the water trough was already cracked, so it was no big loss. And the probe comes in here inside the brooder at about the level where the chicks would be, and it'll give me an accurate temperature at what things are like on their level. Right now I've got the chicks on a 23% protein feed mix that I mixed up myself, and it consists of milled rice and soybean meal. They'll probably stay on this for their entire lives. I might lower the protein content a little bit as they get older, but for now, that's what they're getting. Right now the chicks have to stay indoors so that I can control the temperature and the environment, but eventually my goal is to get them outside in some portable pens. I think they'll be a lot happier out there. If you're like me, and probably most other people, the first year that you raise your own meat birds, you think that you can just go ahead and get away with butchering them with nothing more than a knife, a cutting board, and a gut bucket. After 1 year of doing it that way, you will probably swear that you'll either never raise chickens again, or if you do, you're going to get the right equipment. If your plan is to harvest hundreds of chickens a year, you've probably already considered professional grade equipment, and I would say that you are very smart for doing so. But if you're like most of us and you plan on doing less than 100 chickens a year, oftentimes for me that comes in a few waves, you really don't need to spend that kind of money on that high dollar equipment. As we glance over all of this equipment, I'm sure that some of you know what this stuff is for, but there's probably a lot of you that don't know what some of these things are used for. So let me just go through piece by piece, tell you what they're used for, tell you how important they are to have, and tell you where you can get them. The first step in the harvesting process is, of course, there's no nice way to say it, but it's killing the bird. All right, we all know what happens. The proper way to do this is to restrain the bird in a cone upside down, make an incision in their jugular vein, and once they're done bleeding out, you can continue with the rest of the process. Now, you can buy stainless steel, what are known as kill cones, or you can do what I did, get yourself a traffic cone and cut the top off, end up mounting this on the wall, and this is the perfect size to fit birds in. Saved a little bit of money doing it that way. Maybe one day I'll update to a stainless cone, maybe not. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with this, and I don't really see any reason why I need to change it out. Once the birds are done bleeding, the next step is to remove the feathers. The way that you do this, or at least the easy way that you do this, is by first scalding the birds. What this does is it helps, I mean, the way I understand it anyway, is it sort of loosens the skin around the feathers so that when you go to remove them, they pull out much more easily. You can buy automatic scald pots that will maintain the correct temperature and sort of rotate the birds in and out of the water. Makes your life a lot easier for sure, and like I said before, if you're doing hundreds of birds, this might be worth the money. But for someone like me, I found that a turkey deep fryer works just about perfect. I got this deep fryer at Bass Pro Shops, but I'm sure any sort of outdoor store, or I mean, they might even have these at Target. These are pretty easy to come by, Amazon. The nice thing about them is that they do come with these thermometers because you are going to have to monitor the temperature of this water. And these pots are the perfect size for dipping birds. If I remember right, this fryer was just under $100. And the best part about it is that once the chickens are all processed and put away, I've got a turkey fryer. Once your chickens are scalded, it is time to get those feathers off. And that is where the plucker comes in. Regular viewer of the channel, it will probably come as no surprise to you that I built this plucker, and they're really not that hard to put together. These fingers are available on Amazon. The bucket here was probably the hardest thing to find, but I ended up finding this at Tractor Supply. I would have kind of liked to have a little bit of a larger bucket so I could put more than one bird in at a time, but this was about the best that I could find, and it's held up well, so I'm pretty happy with it. Beyond that, we got the steel frame here, and I believe this is a 2/3 horse motor. It's not very big. Actually, I wouldn't mind if the motor was a little bit bigger. But so far, this has been getting the job done. The way these things work is this motor is spinning this pulley, which is spinning a dish with fingers on it inside the bucket. If you do end up making your own plucker, make sure that you leave a hole in the bottom of this tub so all the feathers that are coming off of the chickens have somewhere to go. The other thing that you're going to need is a special tub to catch all the feathers. I used this tub that was actually used for a protein tub for the cattle, and I drilled a bunch of holes in the bottom so that when all those wet feathers are falling into it, it's only holding the feathers and all the water's draining out the bottom. Then when I'm done processing, I just have a bucket full of feathers, not feathers and water, and I can just go dump it out somewhere. Now I realize that building a plucker is not a project that everybody is willing or able to tackle. So I will point out that these are available on the market as well. I've seen them at Tractor Supply for around 400 bucks. It's definitely not cheap, but I'll tell you what guys, having an automatic plucker will be the difference between whether or not you ever want to harvest chickens again. It's just, you gotta have it. Once the chickens are out of the plucker, you're gonna want a good place to work on them. That's why I got this little stainless steel table. Now I've seen these at Sam's Club. I ordered this one off of Amazon. I think it was just a little bit over $100. But this thing has been really nice. Easy to clean up, it doesn't rust. But I will point out that this isn't totally necessary. You could get away with a plastic table. And even when I am working on this table, I still use a cutting board just so I'm not messing up my knives. This thing's been sitting in the barn for a while, so it's pretty dirty. It's definitely going to need to be cleaned up. I might even hit it with the wire wheel just to really get it polished up nice. Once I get this cleaned up and sanitized, it'll be ready to go. Another thing that I have in my processing equipment that almost seems too dumb to mention, but I'm going to mention it anyway because it is something that I use a lot. And it is this bucket with a bunch of holes drilled in the bottom, sort of a miniature version of my feather bucket over there. What this is used for is guts. So when I'm up here at the stainless steel table cleaning the birds, I can throw all my guts in this bucket, and as I'm washing this table off continuously and water's falling in the bucket, it doesn't get full of water. This definitely falls into the category of kind of a, like I said before, a dumb thing to mention, but you know what? It's the little things like this that really make this job go a lot easier. So speaking of dumping the gut bucket, that kind of reminds me of a funny story. Last year when I would get done processing chickens, I would take the guts across the street and dump them in the ditch there. I figured, you know, something will get them, whether it's a coyote or a raccoon or a skunk. I mean, they got to eat too, right? So a couple days later, the lady that lives up the road walks her dog up and down here, and she saw me outside and she said, "Hey, I think that there's something getting into your chickens and killing them. There's a bunch of parts over here." I said, "Well, yeah, there's something killing my chickens, all right. It's me." A chicken processing video is one that I have thought a lot about making in the past, but I was kind of leery about making it because I know that there are people out there that just are not gonna like it. And you know, I guess the more I think about it, the more I realize that the best thing that I can do is show people the way that it's done and try to explain why that's the right way, why that's the humane way of doing it, and they can just make their own conclusions from there. I'm not gonna win over everybody, I know that. But you know, this is the reality of how we get our food. If this is a topic that you guys are interested in, let me know and we can document this from start to finish. I know that there's a lot of people out there doing this for the first time, and if you think that you can learn from my mistakes and you want to know more about this, let me know in the comments. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.